need to be the heart on the street, and we need to be the heart of Christ present in our world. Jesus, Christ healing, Christ consoling, Christ liberating people.
Determination, resolve, and strength. The faith community steps up to fill a void in a crime-plagued area in Baltimore, torn apart by gun violence. The mission is clear for clergy, religious, and laity across several Catholic congregations in Baltimore. Joined by members of other faiths, they have locked arms in the fight to provide compassion and care to crime victims and their families trapped in neighborhoods where guns and those who use them have caused way too much tragedy. Reporter Roselle Reyes talked to Baltimore Catholic leaders on the front lines, trying to make a difference and to bring more awareness to the plague of gun violence.
To a parent, to a family member, to a spouse, to children whose parent is shot, one is still, it's the world to them.
Sister Fran Gorsuch from the Sisters of Bon Secours has seen how gun violence has affected the community in Baltimore, a city she has lived in for more than 30 years. She recalled mourning the loss of someone who passed away while working at a preschool.
One of the boys raised his hand. He said, "Sister, who shot him?" That's all they knew of how people died. Who shot him? And it just it startled me for the moment. I mean, I was just shocked. When I think of the fear of parents, they can't even let their children out of the house without, wondering if they're going to come back alive.
Baltimore has been one of America's most violent cities for decades, but in recent years, Baltimore has seen a decrease in gun violence and homicides. According to Baltimore Police Department's mid-year crime report, Baltimore's gun-related homicides went from 96 in 2024 to 62 in 2025, a 35% decline. While non-fatal shootings are down from 217 in 2024 to 164 in 2025, a 24% decrease. However, while the data is showing positive progress, a coalition of Baltimore area Catholic nuns and priests worries that the number of gun violence victims will be on the rise again after major funding cuts. In April, under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice canceled more than 360 ongoing grants, totaling more than $800 million for community violence intervention work. In response, the Sisters of Bon Secours, along with 7 other congregations, launched a campaign to raise awareness about gun violence in the city.
40 buses have the signage, "Put the guns down, let peace begin with us," both inside and outside. It also has a QR code that leads to the campaign's website.
There's a QR code on the bus that you can click on and get more information, because we can also advocate through legislation, because some of the federal budget cuts are going to influence some of the funding and programs that Baltimore has had in place in recent years to decrease gun violence.
Sister Mary Jo Stein from the Daughters of Charity is no stranger to Baltimore either. She was born just outside of the city, and after spending years away from ministry, she is now back in Baltimore working as a nurse practitioner.
In the clinic where I work now, some of our patients come in suffering the trauma of having witnessed someone in their family die. So there's all the facets of areas where we work. We see the effects of gun violence. So we want to do something proactive.
For Father Mike Murphy, who grew up in Baltimore and currently lives in one of Baltimore's more dangerous neighborhoods, the cause is personal.
There's been numerous loss of life through gun violence in this neighborhood. At the bottom of the street here, my first year here as a pastor, in the middle of the Christmas Eve Mass, a man was murdered at the bottom of the street. I think you get tired of the violence, and you get tired of, nothing seemed to be changing.
In 2023, he organized an interfaith community prayer service in the city. Faith leaders and other community organizers met at St. Joseph's Monastery Parish at the end of the year for the service, followed by a prayer walk through the streets.
As we walk, we stop along the way and we read the names, keep reading the names of those who have died till we get to the end. And to speak their name and to remember them is very valuable, and to allow their loved ones to come and to participate in that walk and to hear their loved ones' names spoken and that it meant something. They're not forgotten.
In the same year, Father Mike with the Archdiocese of Baltimore launched a gun buyback program in an effort to reduce the number of weapons on the street. In the 2 years they have hosted the event, church officials obtained nearly 650 weapons and raised $70,000 to buy back the guns, with remaining funds going to the Archdiocesan's grief ministry.
Well, I wish it could stop. I wish I didn't have to hold and hug another mother.
There are Baltimore residents like Darlene Kane, who lost her son Dale Graham to a police shooting, who are now advocates for stopping gun violence. To help her community grieve the loss of their loved ones, she collects what she calls soul boxes.
They were like paper boxes made by hand that look like jewelry boxes, and it's for your loved one. And the person could be someone that lost their life to gun violence, injured, or someone who lost their life to suicide.
Darlene brings these soul boxes and puts them on display to any event she is a part of, as she continues to push for safer gun laws and fewer illegal guns on the streets. She tells us what her hopes are for the future.
That there will be more education, more resources, more reforms for gun laws. I just love to see the kids playing again, just being safe like we used to jump and rope and hold hands and jump in circles, and parents not feeling like when you go to the corner store, it's a dangerous thing to do.
Roselle Reyes, EWTN News In Depth.
And joining us now in studio is Father Mike Murphy, pastor of St. Joseph's Monastery Parish in Southwest Baltimore and one of the lead organizers of the Archdiocese's gun buyback program. Father, thanks so much for being here with us on this critical issue. And as you stated so eloquently in Roselle's report, this issue is a personal one for you.
It's very personal. You know, the 30 years I've worked in that community, where I actually grew up myself, there's been numerous killings right on the main strip. The person that was killed on Christmas Eve, my first year there, 2 weeks ago in that very same corner, another person was murdered within the last 2 weeks. And so it's constant, either the non-fatal or the fatal, the constant sound of, sirens or helicopters hovering over. It's just a tragic loss. It doesn't need to be this way.
And the fact that happened your first year, that's formative. That must have been formative for your priestly ministry.
It was, in the church full of Christmas Eve folks, but I couldn't help think about the family who was going to get that phone call in a short while after the police would find out who it was, how tragically their lives would be changed forever,
And there are a number of media portrayals of the city of Baltimore in particular, maybe most famously in The Wire, for example. But as an actual longtime resident and community leader in Baltimore, can you shed more insight into the gun culture there? Tell us about that.
There does seem to be access to weapons that a certain population has access to. And I understand there is some sort of way to obtain weapons very easily. Someone once told me you can go to a corner to get a pack of cigarettes and you're going to get a gun just as easily on another corner. So it's a culture that I don't know much about or invested myself in, but I know it's there. I've heard people talk of it. I've talked to people who work in the city, and it's very easy to obtain a weapon. So there is that constant flow, I think, of weapons into people's hands.
And Baltimore has had this long reputation for being one of the deadliest homicide rates in the nation. But this year, the city is experiencing the fewest homicides in 50 years. And it seems like Baltimore leaders are scrambling to take credit or point to different reasons for why that is. What's your reaction to this drop in the homicide rate and your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, the mayor has been committed to creating, ways to help people solve issues in a nonviolent way. Some of those programs may be in jeopardy because of the budget cuts, but those in cooperation with people in individual communities doing their part, the gun buyback, to continually have this as part of the ongoing conversation. For us, this is not a once-a-year thing. It's a continuing conversation about we can be better, we can be more peaceful, and being visible in a way to tell people that there's a different way. And I never underestimate the power of prayer. You know.
Absolutely. And the third annual gun buyback program is coming up on August 9th. As you've launched this program, what's surprised you the most about it?
Well, I think I learned, things of people who don't believe in it, and some of them I'm really surprised at. Some of them are other priests, and other people who have a negative view about, do these work? Is it a proper way of using funds? So I don't engage those arguments or discussions, because I know that any weapon out of somebody's home is going to prevent maybe a suicide or a domestic violence. Any gun that can be stolen and used in a crime. And trying to reach out to that population who do have weapons for doing not good, trying to continue to touch their hearts. But we have to consistently be present. So the prayer service that we have every December is a follow-up to the gun buyback, and trying to find other ways for the church constantly to be visible and present.
Well, you hit on the next question that I had for you, which is that this topic of guns and the Second Amendment, it is one of the most heated and debated topics in our nation, and there are a diversity of opinions by Catholics and in the Catholic Church as well. But do you think this is an issue the church should be vocal on?
On the gun violence, yes. I mean, I think the Second Amendment, is people's rights. I don't question that. People are responsible. They keep their weapons locked up out of the hands of children, which we've had some recent occasions where there's been accidental shootings because it wasn't secured. So people are responsible, and they keep their weapons secure, and that it's used for good purposes. I have no argument with that.
But when it comes to gun violence,
yeah.
And you see this as a dignity of life issue.
It certainly is a dignity and quality of life issue. That people, across the board, there's so many vulnerable people. And the area that will have the buyback this year is a little bit more of an area that's much more vulnerable to these kinds of poverty, drugs, gun violence, housing issues. It's a much more area with a lot more needs and attention than where we previously had it. But when I go down to the shopping center we're going to have it, and just the sadness of those people's lives. And the first year we did the gun buyback, there was the money that we don't use. It goes through our Archdiocesan Grief Ministry program, which helps families bury their loved one, and no one is ready to do that. Helps people with food or housing or sometimes relocation. So the very first year we actually helped a mother bury her son who was murdered outside her home with his girlfriend early in the morning.
Tell us more about this, Father, because again, this has been something that seems like it's been a part of your entire priesthood. How do you even begin to minister to families who have lost a loved one to gun violence?
It's to be present and to know that they're not alone. A lot of those families are in very vulnerable positions in their relationships with their family, all kinds of difficulties that any family faces, but some of these families are living in some really difficult situations and vulnerability. And you walk into this and you realize just how do people weather this without support? How do you find money to bury your child? How do you move to the next day and worry about food and housing or location when your mind has been totally blown by the sense of this loss? So it's being present and showing up, and not going away after a day, a month, but continuously to be present and to do these things, and how we can continue to do things to keep this conversation of creating a better culture of peace in our city.
And ultimately, this buyback program that you've helped launch, you hope to bring more peace and healing to the city.
Absolutely. This year we've raised about a little over $60,000. So we have each year build a list of really great supporters, parishes, religious communities, individuals who don't even live in the city, who believe in this. And we don't make it a political argument, because people will try to take it there. The police have been wonderfully supportive. They're there to facilitate and to collect the weapons. And the diocese, Archdiocese, is very supportive and using all their resources to help promote it and pull it together. So it really is a great collaborative of a statement of peace and of love and that we're here.
Father Mike Murphy, thank you for driving into D.C.
Sure.
to be with us this week. We appreciate it.
I'm glad to. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like more information about this important issue, take note of these two websites. Go to bondsecure.us for information on the Put the Guns Down campaign, or the Archdiocese of Baltimore's website at archbalt.org for details about the gun buyback program.